The events of this week so far, at least prior to the opening of discussions on Thursday between the US and China, the market still has this hope that there's going to be the beginnings of a major trade deal coming between the US and China. Um, I wish I could be that optimistic. Certainly, the events that we saw on Tuesday, where there was further sanctions against certain Chinese companies, and the Chinese government, sort of lashing out at the NBA for the comments of one team general manager, have not brought the negotiations off to a very good starting place. Um, I look at it this way: for the past couple of years, the market has been chasing this idea. The market's infatuated with this idea of a Chinese US trade deal. Um, and I guess, like with many other things, infatuation dies hard. The problem is, if you're infatuated with someone and you continually chase after that person for the better part of 2 years, um, you start to wonder, does that infatuation become stalking? And I certainly wonder whether the market's fascination with the Chinese trade deal has become actually unhealthy. The reason for that is there's so many moving parts, and I really strongly believe that if both sides weren't so dug in, particularly the idea of a large scale deal, which the U.S. really wants, and which the Chinese, through the media, pushed back on early in the week, and then I guess there's some commentary from the White House saying no, the Chinese weren't pushing back, or not the White House specifically, but talking heads close to the White House pushed back. Um, the idea then that there could be this major progress when there really hasn't even been incremental progress, and essentially the goalposts have been moving away from each other rather than toward each other. I just think the market, if it's expecting too much, it's going to be disappointed. Now, the one thing to say here is, if there really is a deal coming, you don't want to be short, at least in the initial reaction, because the market will rally on positive developments. I think a certain amount of the positivity that you see on trade news um, are is the idea that stories are programmed into trading models. Well, you can argue whether it's the machines buying or the people buying, but bottom line is, I think the market has programmed in some bias, either implicitly or explicitly, that if there's a good trade story, the next move is up. On the flip side is, if that is for real, that could actually be very, very monumental, which is why I alluded recently to the idea that even if you take a fairly defensive position in the market, you may want to bias it with a little bit of an upside bias, just in case something were to come down the pipe. My optimism about such a thing is fairly low. We're taping this Tuesday afternoon. A lot can change between now and when you see this, but as of now, I think the market is pricing in still some enthusiasm for a trade deal. It's not clear to me where it's coming from, but I think, as with any infatuation, it peaks quickly and dies out slowly, and I think that's what we're seeing.